How would you like to make your first million? Today we have Rohit Bassi with us, joining from Australia. This is Far, and he's the founder of People Quotient, and he helped uh, businesses just to find the right team to help them to scale up. And we would like to know, Rohit, what are your five-step formula? What are your five steps you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks for having me on the podcast. For me, the five things are quite simple, and this may not shock a lot of people, but I always go back to the basics and fundamentals. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you're scaling your business, you're at an inflection point, it doesn't really matter. These five things apply across the board, but particularly apply to entrepreneurs. Number one is what? And what I mean by that is, what are you solving for? One of the biggest things that I find tricky with entrepreneurs and founders, and I have been one, and is that you get lost in what are you solving for. So without that clarity and identifying what it is that you're solving for, it is very difficult to aim for anything. And quite honestly, the interesting part is that it's not just the question that you ask once. You have to ask that question repeatedly throughout the course of your business, because as it scales, what may shift. And so you need to be very clear on what it is that you're doing. Number two is why. What is that? Why is it that the product or service that you're offering makes sense? Why does the world need it? Why is there a gap to begin with that you're trying to address? Because without understanding the why that product or service is needed, you won't be able to meet the needs of your consumer. So I actually go with what first and then why, because sometimes when you're solving for things, you get passionate or you get too deep in it, and then you forget the why. And I think without that why, it's very hard to make prioritized decisions, capital allocation, thinking about product development. And so whatever your line of work is, I think the why comes next. For me, then it comes down to the when, and just because you thought of it, and every entrepreneur has this, and I've got the same thing, which is lots of ideas, lots of opportunities, lots of ways to get to market, and you're off to one, and then suddenly somebody gives you a brilliant idea. Doesn't mean you do it now. And so the sequencing of what you do and why you're doing it has to be then coupled with the when, because I think a lot of people, I find, in terms of entrepreneurs, tend to want to do it all. And I'm guilty of it. I want to do things very quickly, very fast now, because I'm afraid that the market will move. I'm afraid that the opportunity will go away. Maybe, but what I've found is business owners, when they move too quickly or when they don't have that clarity or try to do too many things at the same time, lose that sense of prioritization, and actually is very dilutive to the business. So I think the third piece that I would say is when. The piece that I come back to at the end of it, which I think is my fourth pillar, and that's the pillar that I focus on the most, which is the who. For me, when I say who, has two parts to it, so maybe this is your fourth and fifth. The who is the piece around your people, right? Who in your organization besides you is actually going to be able to do this? So this structure for me helps, whether you are taking a small initiative, which is a big part of your business or a small part of business, or you're talking about a macro change in your organization or your business itself. I think understanding who is going to be next to you is going to be the key. Whether it is one person or 100 people or 1,000 people, it doesn't matter. Getting the who engine is critical. The other part of the who is your customers. I've always said that if you take care of your people and you take care of your customers, everything else will be fine. Often as entrepreneurs, we tend to get caught up in our product, in our service, in our vision, in our growth capital needs, and everything makes sense. That happens very naturally. We all get caught up in it. But I think the big piece that I see missing is, are you constantly talking to your customers? And so for me, the 5-step process is that 5-step, which is who in terms of your people and who in terms of your customers. Because if you keep that structure, and I often tell entrepreneurs to have a whiteboard in their organization, in their office, to keep those 5 things on the board and can just remind themselves that this is something I'm solving for. This is why I'm doing it. This is when I'm going to do it. This is when I'm not going to do it. Who are the people in my team who are going to help me get there? And who are the customers that I'm addressing? I think that's my structure, and that's the structure I use with a lot of organizations to help them scale and also get out of trouble when they get into trouble.
Right, tell us the story. Why you decide to become an entrepreneur?
Some people would say because I love pain, but the truth is that's not the case. So I've spent 20 years in private equity, in different parts of private equity. I've done venture capital work. I've done investing. I've run companies. But for me, the biggest thing that when I reflected on my 20-year career in different parts of running, building, investing, growing, starting companies, one thing that I realized was that there was a big gap in the market as it relates to what I'm doing now. And I love being able to craft and build something that addresses the needs of the market in the way that I'd like to bring to market. And so the independence that comes with it, the independence of decision making, the independence of addressing the customer's needs directly, building products and services that actually solve problems. That's what drives me, and that's what I'm passionate about. And this one specific problem I saw in the market repeatedly. And I thought, okay, you know what? This is my opportunity to go do it. And so I decided to jump in and I became an entrepreneur a few years ago.
And I think the most difficult thing is to keep things simple, right?
Correct.
And behind
Yeah.
this structure that you described, they are very profound. Because each of it, I think if somebody want to expand the business, somebody want to grow, most important thing is that they need is clarity, right?
Yeah.
And all these words that you mentioned, right? All these steps that you mentioned, help entrepreneurs to have clarity, right? And like, for example, the what. I always, sometimes you ask the entrepreneur, what business are you really? What's your business? And it's so simple. Oh, a business. Yes. McDonald's, they thought that the business that they were in, it was selling burgers. Not happened to me. The person who become wealthy was who realized that the real business was in the real estate. So in the location that the burger is cooked. So sometimes it sounds simple. What business are you really in? Why you doing this? But when you dig deep, it's more profound. And through that process, I think the entrepreneur can have clarity.
Yep.
Okay? And sometimes take years.
Yep.
Sometimes you can have a product out there. You can be selling it. You can be making some money. And you feel that you're trapped, right? Like, remember my first business, it was some point that we were stuck at $250,000 in sales. First year, $250,000. Second year, so we were stuck like 250,000. There was no way until we finally break through, right? So things had to change, and something that you point out very important, it was that this who, why, as soon as you grow, also changes. So tell us a little bit more how you came out with these conclusions after so many years within private equity and as a founder and so on. How you came up with this conclusion that if you don't get clarity and get clarity in all these steps that you shared with me, it's gonna be impossible to grow a business. This I know because when I was scaling my first business, I didn't know anything about what you say, about what you mentioned, but I remember I was thinking to myself, Harry, you have here a small mess. If you scale, what you're going to scale is a big mess. So I had to tie up thing. So tell us a little bit more how you come out with this.
It's not a genius thing, I will admit. I'm not, if anyone has met me, I'm not at all a genius person.
No, but
it's
you know
more
what
just
is a
observing.
genius? A genius is explain something complex, very simple. Everybody can understand. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Because if you go
yeah,
there and you say, let me give you processes, system, leadership,
that's true.
standard SOP, and you
Yeah,
start say, and let's use this SaaS to solve this and increase the sales, and you start to, which is everything that actually will happen. But you speak
yeah.
this language with the founder, you're gonna lose them. They will think it's so complicated, right? So
That's true. Yeah, the answer to your question, Harry, is very simple. It's through observations, and I think the first thing is, and this is not just observation. What I'm saying, the structure I provided is not just for entrepreneurs. Of course, it is important in business. I think it's important in personal life, right? How often have we gone down the path for anything we do, we start doing it, and we get so caught up in tension and stress and anxiety. And I think it's because we lose clarity. And so this was how I came across this was because, first of all, of course, first and foremost, I saw it in businesses. I had that without having clarity. The first time I ever heard of it that it brought to me was when I started working at McKinsey. So I was in McKinsey and Company. I was in their private equity practice. I was new, and I started to solve a problem because my training before that, before business school, was in engineering. So somebody gives me a problem, I start solving it. And then very quickly I realized, but what is the problem I'm solving was not clear. And what happened was that I spent hours and hours solving problems in business, and only to realize that I had been spending a lot of time and energy solving the wrong problem. So the first lesson came from making the mistake myself, right? That was the first aha, that I needed to have clarity in a very tiny project and small thing that I was doing for a large company, what that is. Fast forward, whether I was running teams at McKinsey or whether I was running a company or investing in them, now this was as a private equity operator and investor, that just started showing up more. So the initial idea came when I was very junior, and somebody had to tap me on the shoulder saying, "Do you know what you're doing?" To when I started actually scaling and running bigger businesses, that's when I realized that the problem that you have of lack of clarity, when it's just you, it's within you. But now when you have 10, 100,000, 10,000 employees, that is the amount of impact you're going to have, because all of those people are going to wake up every day and go to a mission driven by you. So if you don't have that clarity, you're wasting not just your time of everyone else that's around you, including your customers. Because to your point, you talked about going to entrepreneurs. If I go to clients or customers and start giving them a product that is not aligned with what they're solving for, this goes back to my fifth element, right? The who part two. Then is a misalignment. You wasted your time, their time, your reputation. So I think clarity manifests in everything we do. But for entrepreneurs, because we're tackling so much on our own and trying to bring a new product service, that becomes an impactful thing, because you will be touching so many people through your process, ideally, right? And that's the whole mission that most entrepreneurs have, is we're going to change the world. And so that's where it started, and that's why it keeps showing up.
Well, let's talk about the journey of the entrepreneur, because at the beginning, when you're going from 0 to 1 million, right? You have to wear of your hats, all the hats. You have to get the product market fit. You have to pivot until out of the 500 millionaires that we interviewed this podcast, no one had come yet and tell me, Harry, guess what? I developed this product. I had to sell it exactly as I did, and I become a millionaire. So nobody had told this story yet. And so everybody developed something, it didn't work, pivot again and again until eventually something works. However, this try and error, wearing all the hats, Monday to Sunday type of entrepreneur, all these dynamic change when you go from 1 to 10 million, 1 to 3 million. You basically have to unlearn everything you know and become a different person, because now it's more about leadership, about process, about systems, about the clarity is still there. I gotta agree with you. What you share stable the way, it doesn't matter if it's a million and you stay. However, something changed, right? And sometimes the founder, a lot of people hear the story about, Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, the Google guys, and everybody say, oh, you know what, I'm going to have my startups and I'm going to become a billionaire, right? And
Yeah.
and this story that we have out there, but at the end of the day, some of us, they are very good. I know people that they are amazing at 0 to 1. I know the people that are spectacular at 1 to 10, and that's the area that they're more comfortable. Even me, I'm more in the 1 to 10 million space, right? The 0 to 1. Of course, I have, and we talk a lot. That's why my first question about 0 to 1, because I know that for me was traumatic experience, the zero to
Yeah.
one. I think it's for everybody. So tell us about the change of the entrepreneur. What is the biggest challenge that you find in founders when they grow, and how you become that challenge? Some of them get bored because now it's only number one. They didn't sign up to be a leader. They sign up to size to make a product, sell it, and make profit. Nobody told them that they had to become leaders. Nobody told them that they need
Yeah.
to now lead the mission with 1,000 people. Nobody told them that now you need to have procedures, systems, and SOP and OD. So tell us the biggest challenge that you face with the entrepreneur, how you become the challenge, helping them to grow, because now they have to learn everything they knew and learn something
Yeah.
new if they want to scale.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge with entrepreneurs, or I would say even founders, you talked about 0 to 1. I'd say that I have seen that from 1 to 10, and actually I've seen it from 10 to 100. It's
Yeah,
letting
10 to
go.
100 is another ball game, completely
Yeah,
different also,
yeah.
right?
But this actually affects, it's scale agnostic. It's letting go. It's you need to go and let someone else take over. They may
Mm-hmm.
not do it as
Mm-hmm.
well as you would do it, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's product. You might have started it, you have the vision, but you've got to, I think you said it, which is how do you teach someone to take over? How do you find someone who you don't have to teach as much? And so that you can do something else. So I sort of say, the reason you want to let go is you have to decide, do you want to work in the business or do you want to work on the business? So entrepreneurs by definition are execution driven leaders. And so they were really good at getting stuff done somewhere else and then decided that I'm going to apply this energy for what I want to build. But what ends up happening is the idea of working in the business becomes so comfortable because you're solving the problem, you love it, you want to talk to your customers, you love product development. If you're in technology, you want to love building technology. If you're in sales, you love selling, but you don't like building. Problem is, you're so in the business that you have no time to be on the business and really think about where all those 5 things we talked about. Your
Well,
job as you
until
scale
you
is
don't
those
get
five.
product market fit, until you don't sell your first million, you have to work on in the business, no chance. But
Correct.
after you have product
Correct.
market fit,
Correct.
right, they have to
Yeah.
realize, and this is what the big problem happened, right? That it takes time, sometimes years, for them to understand, and that's why they always talk in a million, right? Because they takes sometimes years to understand that. Okay, now uh, I have to work more on the business, in the business. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah. And one thing I'd say to that, Harry, is that, what I'm not saying is that you stop working in the business. I'm not saying that at all. I think what I'm saying is the amount that you work inside the business changes as you scale up. And I think to your point about 0 to 1 versus 1 to 10, you know than anyone else is um, the things that you should be tackling, the what that you be worried about is different from the what that everyone should be worried about. You're all sort of moving in the same direction. But if you are worried about what your engineer is doing, what your salesperson is doing, what your marketing person is doing, yes, you have to think about it because you need to provide that leadership which you spoke about. But I think the what is, what am I tackling? What is my team doing? What is the purpose of my business? And has that remained the same? Is it different from 1 to 10 than it was from 0 to 1? I think that is what you actually, a lot of us think that that's a nice to have. I think you owe it to your team to be working on the business because if you're not, if you're in the business, it may feel good, It may feel like, oh, you're part of the team. They love you because they're like, oh, I see Harry in my team all the time. The challenge with that is Harry and the team are working on something, but the business needs to be moving in a different direction and nobody's thinking about it. So as a founder, as an entrepreneur, I almost say that if you pie chart, I make founders do pie charts. And in the pie chart, I say, how do you break the pie chart between what you're doing, what someone else is doing, right? How much time you're spending in the business versus on the business. And that chart shifts over time. As you scale to, 100 million business, you should never be in the business unless something is broken so bad that you have to come in. You should have people helping you so that you can actually get to the next 100 million.
This I agree 100%. That happened to me, right? So in my business, got product market fit, and we sold over the million. Then I hired my team, and the team that were better than me at everything. They were better than me at sales. They were better than me at marketing, better than me in operation. To the point that they sent me home. They tell me, Harry, don't come here to the office anymore. Go home. My manager told me, Harry, go home. I will go once a month to tell you what we're doing with the business. You don't need to come here anymore. Travel the world if you want. Don't come here. Clearly, she told me, clearly you're bored enough to do. We're here founding the company, so better stay home. One line, they were better than me and everything. So I'm staying at home. And Eva is coming once a month telling me one problem. It was a real estate business, right? I'm telling me, Harry, we have one problem. We need more single rooms. Only one problem I had to solve. And I tell Eva, this problem, I was giving the whole reasons. Say, look, this problem, of course, you're going to have it. Let me tell you why. Number one, single rooms are cheaper than double rooms. So, because they're cheaper, of course, you have more demand on that. But also, if you see the architectures in the world, when you build houses, the single room is supposed to be for the kids. So they build the houses with one single room, maybe two. But when you see a house out there, the majority of rooms are doubles, are big, because they want the owners to be comfortable. So from architecture point of view, you have more double rooms than single, and on top of that, singles are scarce. But of course, you have a huge demand for single room. There is nothing I can do about it. Okay, Eva will go. Next month, she will come, look, we grow this company, we did this, we're making a lot of money. By the way, we need more single rooms. I'm like, Eva, I told you already. Then I'm doing more research. Look, there is nothing that I can do. Guess what happened? After the 10th month, I said, Eva, you know what? You want more single rooms? Yes. I said, okay, fine. Let's get the big double rooms. I'm going to cut them in half. I'm going to get a couple of Polish builders. My Polish builder, I spoke with my Polish builder. I told to my Polish builder, listen, Eva is giving me so much headache with this single room that I cannot have it anymore. So can you divide a big room in two? To my Polish builders? And they say, yes, of course we can do. I said, look, it's going to be good quality. Yes, Harry, they're not going to listen to each other. They're going to be amazing. Bottom online, Rohit. That problem that I solved, we make 2 million extra. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And there's
amazing.
no way that I can solution working in the business. It was the only problem that she's bringing to me, only one problem, but it took me months to realize. And clearly in the office, they couldn't find the solution either. That's why they're bringing only that problem to me. So what illustrates, like what you said, that, if you're working on the business after you have product market fit, if you're working in the business, it can actually harm the business because you won't be able to solve problem that you solve this problem will solve the rest of the problem. So this happened to me. I tell you.
No, I think it's true.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that if you talk to any business owner that has scaled their businesses, I think they will that part of the reason they're able to do it is because they stop getting away from the business. And one of the things that entrepreneurs and founders fear the most is by working on the business, they will somehow not be close to the business. I think even the example you said, you were very close to the business. And so I think there is an element of building teams that you can trust. So I spend a lot of time helping entrepreneurs and founders really think about who you have around you, right? If you're a CEO of a company, you have the right people, because I think that letting go, which is what I was talking about before, allows you to do what you just said, which is working on. And Eva was able to come to you because you had her in your team. And she was able to actually be in the business so you can be on the business. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. So I don't want anyone listening to say, whoa, I'm going to stop. The reality is you almost have to be in the business for a long time,
Two
because
years.
then you have to think about when the problem comes, right? Because you know the problem, you understand the problem. You're like, I get it,
Mm-hmm,
but I'm glad
mm-hmm.
I'm not the one thinking about the problem. I'm just here to help you solve it. So the shift happens with you become the chief problem solver rather than the chief execution team, you know,
By the
member.
way, this problem is from day one there. This problem
Yeah.
always been there. It been there when I
Mm.
started the company. It been there. I'm trying to work out myself why I cannot solve this problem. And I made
Yeah.
my own study and I have a lot of information about it. And but the truth is, since I started the business from day one, we have more demand for single rooms than for those.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, we came in the business, we just wearing all the hat trying to solve it. But even out the business, it took
Yeah.
time to. I think if I don't insulate myself, and that would never happen. Wait, is someone want to know more about you and
Mhm.
what you do, how people can find you, how this process works?
Yeah, the simplest way is to go to my personal website. It's rohit-bassi.com, which I'm sure we'll share as part of the show notes. There's also a few months ago, I released my first book, The People Priority, which is now an international bestseller. It was number one in multiple countries.
Oh wow.
And so they can, of course, if they look up the book, they'll find me. But the easiest way to find everything I do in terms of the company that I've built, how I work with founders and CEOs, my book, the podcast that I have, which is in helping people really like what you're doing, Harry. My podcast is the People Quotient podcast. So everything is under the People Quotient banner. The thing that I say to everyone I meet is, you asked me this question in the beginning, that how did I come upon this idea of clarity? I think similarly, over the course of 20 years, what I've realized is individuals like you and me have EQ and IQ, right? We all have IQ. We all, understand or become aware of our EQ. But that's why I say companies have PQ, and it's the people quotient. It's the company's character. It's what makes the company's people work together. And so if someone's looking at PQ, my name would show up as well, people quotient specifically. But yeah, the best way to find me is rohit-bassi.com. And I think whether you've got a question, you want to work with me, or just read the content, that I've posted up there, you're welcome to. My whole ethos is I want to be helpful, and I'm scaling the business while being helpful. So, I share the pain and the stories and the glory, everything that every entrepreneur and founder that's listening to your podcast. So, love to hear from everyone on that website.
Wow. So, wow, I didn't know you're a fellow podcaster. So,
Yeah.
yeah, keep helping people. I love the title of your book, by the way.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
so, tell us, if to conclude, what is your favorite chapter of your book and why?
Yeah, my favorite chapter of the book is the first chapter of the book, which is about defining strategy. So the book, just to give people context, is my recipe that I've used over 20 years to build, run, scale businesses, but by focusing on how to hire the right person at the right time. But the key there is what I said at the beginning of our conversation, which is, do you know what you're solving for? So my favorite chapter of the book is having a clear strategy up front. A lot of people, when they're hiring people, sometimes you have to hire because somebody quit and you need somebody there right away. But if a founder, entrepreneur, CEO, investor can really think about every time somebody quits in your job, there's an opportunity to reevaluate if the role that you want to fill is exactly what they were doing. We shift things, because and the strategy has shifted. And so the first chapter, it's about strategy, it's about having clarity, because once you have that, Then you can develop your people plan. I talk about how to do that. You can you can prepare yourself for execution. And then I also talk about execution in the book. So it's 18 steps. It's you as a founder, CEO can pick and choose the steps you want, because I remember I am one of them. Not everything applies to me, right? I have some things, I don't have other things, so I can create my own version. But it all starts from a clear strategy. And by the way, strategy doesn't have to be a 5-10 year plan. I often work with people saying, have a 12-month strategy, right? Start with the 12-month plan on a piece of paper, 5 points. That's all you need. So that's what my favorite chapter is, because it actually sets you up for success. And I think the key to all of this is we're all trying to be successful. And so if you want to be successful at hiring the right people, make sure you're starting with a very clear reason of what you're building and why you're doing it.
All right, thank you so much for the podcast. It has been amazing.
Thanks for
for
having
all
me.
of you, podcast, see you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneurs like Rohit break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.